we waiting for the city manager?
Looks like he's in a meeting.
Yeah, I think he's in it.
Did he know he was?
I overheard him say that he's away at this meeting, so I anticipate.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Port Hueneme Water Agency regular meeting. I am calling this meeting to order. The time is now 4 p.m. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Member McQueen-Lejeune.
Here.
Member Perez.
Here.
Ex officio Member Jacobson. Vice Chair Debley.
Here.
Chair Hernandez.
Here.
And let the record reflect that Member Bouchard is absent.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear public comments. Zoom participants, please use the raise your hand feature if you would like to comment. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No public comments.
Okay. We are now at the agenda approval for the water agencies for today's meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Move to approve?
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you please take a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Very good, thank you. Okay, we're going to start off this meeting with a United Water Desalinization Project presentation by Mr. Dennis Martinez. Or do we have another speaker?
Yes,
Okay,
it's me. Good afternoon.
you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Mariam Broll. I'm United's chief engineer. I have been with the district since 2018. I just celebrated my 5-year with the district.
Congratulations.
And thank you so much. And I was hired to support the delivery of capital improvement projects at the district and overseeing a number of key projects. And I am going to present 2 of those key projects to you today. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank the opportunity to provide a status update on the iron and manganese treatment project. And as just for the board's interest, we came to the board meeting in 2019, and at that point we had just started on the project. So the status of the project is as such that we are in construction and we are expecting to complete the construction by September this year. So
If I could, excuse me if I could just interrupt you real quickly. I just wanted the clerk to note that we have our Community Services Beach District Rep, Michael LeBeau here, and our new city manager has joined us, James Vega. Welcome. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you. So I can also let you know that I have my senior engineer, Robert Richardson, here. He is the project manager for both projects. So I'm going to talk about the iron and manganese treatment project updates, and then we proceed with the extraction barrier and brackish water treatment project. So here is the a map showing the project location, which is at our existing El Rio groundwater recharge and treatment facility. This facility is located on North Rose Avenue.
Well, thank you for using the pointer.
Yes, sure.
Appreciate that.
This is the El Rio facility. We have groundwater recharge basins. We have several wells, and the purpose of this facility is to do groundwater or perform groundwater recharge, but also extract groundwater and treat it for beneficial use through the OH pipeline. The OH pipeline that it is indicated here serves several of our customers, including the City of Oxnard, Port Hueneme Water Agency, Naval Base Metro County, and a school district and mutual water companies. So by way of background, I want to briefly talk about the hydrogeology setting at the site. So we have existing wells. 9 of these wells are screened in the upper aquifer system, so relatively shallow wells. And what happens is that we operate these wells, as I said, the water is treated and then conveys to the distribution system. However, from time to time, and especially during the prolonged drought conditions, we have a challenging water quality issue, and that is the nitrate concentration that can be elevated because of the lack of insufficient recharge of the groundwater basins. So in order to mitigate and control nitrate concentrations below the maximum contaminated level, we use 3 deep wells, and by tapping into the lower aquifer system, the water that's being extracted from these 3 wells get blended with the water from the upper aquifer system, and that way we can meet the nitrate concentration levels. Back in 2014, 2015, the Division of Drinking Water ordered us to treat this water, the water that comes from the deep wells, due to the fact that iron and manganese concentrations are pretty elevated, and they, from time to time, they are actually above the secondary MCL, or maximum contaminant level. So with that, we started the planning on this project, and we conducted a feasibility study to look at different treatment processes for removal of iron and manganese. And the assessments pointed us to a filtration treatment. And so using the green sand, we would then treat the water from the deeper wells and remove those to the non-detect concentration. Here is a layout of the project. So basically, the water is going to be treated through 2 filter vessels. And once the, so depending on the process and how we control the process, the filter media that consists of green sand plus needs to be backwashed. So the backwash process starts, the filter media gets expanded, and the backwash water is stored in this wash water recovery tank. And so once the filter media is cleaned and ready to operate, we would then recycle part of this backwash water into the head of the filtration process, and basically get to pretty much 99% of total water recovery. So there's very little solids that gets removed from the water due to the precipitation of iron and manganese. And please stop me if I'm going into too far details. So, and then as part of this facility, we have several metering vaults that support the process. We also have a dedicated building that houses a new laboratory and electrical room with the PLCs and motor control centers that, again, supports this facility and ties this facility to the existing facility, and a blower. So through the backwash, not only we use the clean water for the backwash process, but we also use air to expand the filter media to make sure that the cleaning process is complete, or at least optimized. So the capacity of this treatment plant is 3,500 gallons per minute, or 5,650 acre-feet per year. There has been plans for, or at least we included a provision for a future expansion, but at this point, we don't see that we would expand to the second phase that would increase the plant capacity to 8,500 GPM. And the way we see this plant or facility operates is during prolonged drought conditions. So basically, it enables us to have this facility as a drought resiliency kind of solution. and at the same time improve the water quality, the treated water quality that's being distributed to the customers. So there are several kind of like parameters that are being kind of like followed or tracked to make sure that the process is functioning as the design intent. And those are included here. Basically, we look at the pH of the water, we look at the conductivity, because that would be an indication of the raw water quality, and the finished water should have chlorine residual, the pH that's being monitored, and other parameters that we are following and assessing. So the process flow diagram in like a simplified manner is as such, that the operation of the upper aquifer system wells continue as it has always been, meaning the groundwater gets extracted, it gets chlorinated before it goes to a clear wells, and then again post-chlorination and ammonia is being added to have chloramination as a disinfection agent, and then the water gets distributed to the OH pipeline. With this facility, what we do is, the water from lower aquifer system is treated through the iron and manganese, and it gets blended with the well water from the upper aquifer system and goes through the same, basically, treatment. So employing this facility, we would have continuous water supply, especially again during the drought condition. We would have the nitrate concentration under control and below the MCL, and we expect to have non-detect iron and manganese concentrations in the finished water. In the next few slides, I'm going to show you the pictures of the construction phase of the project and the progresses that we made. So we broke ground in December 2021, and by April 2022, we provided the backwash supply pipeline. As I said, this is an existing facility, and this new facility is being kind of like added to. So the backwash water supply is being provided from the finished water from the plant. Here is a picture of the iron and manganese building, the one that is dedicated to this process, with three basically sections. Here are the filter vessels that are pretty atypical in size. These filter vessels are pretty large, and based on what we know from the manufacturer, these are the largest on the West Coast, so 12 feet in diameter and 40 feet long. And they were shipped to the site in June 2022. However, the preparation and the interior coating of the vessels were performed in Oregon. So here is a short video of how smoothly and seamlessly these pressure or filter vessels were installed. As you can see, the concrete slabs or supports were already poured, the anchor bolts were already poured. So if things went wrong, then the anchor bolts would not fit properly, but that was not the case, and that was one of the milestones that we put behind us successfully. In July 2022, a year ago, the construction of the wash water supply was completed. This is the inside of this tank. The tank has got a capacity of 195,000 gallons, so that's a pretty large tank with a 42 feet diameter. In May this year, we installed the filter-facing pipelines, the platform around the filters, and several of these vaults that I mentioned before were constructed. And so what you see from the air is looking south, and Rose Avenue is over here on the left-hand side. you actually can see the wash water tank from Rose Avenue. It is pretty tall. And so let's see what I can show you in this picture is the filter drain vault, the recycled pump station, the filter vessels, the building in the background, and then behind this building, we have the chlorination building that is already in place and has been used for water treatment processes. These two images show the interior of the lab and the analyzers that are installed and sample ports from the different locations through the process. This project timeline indicates that, well, we started talking about this project with the Division of Drinking Water in 2015. We completed a feasibility study in 2016 and started the preliminary design in 2017. We conducted 2 pilot testing to make sure that the filter media that we selected would basically perform as intended. And in 2018, we started the design. And in 2021, basically, we went through the bidding for the construction. And in the meantime, we applied for 3 grant funding programs. And I'm going to just talk about that here. This diagram shows the total project cost and the funding that were made available to us. So the construction cost is $10.5 million, and that includes a couple of major change orders that I'm going to talk about. And all other costs related to planning, construction management, and design are about $2.3 million. So of this total cost, we have secured 67% cost of the construction by 2 grants. One grant was provided by the Department of Water Resources, IRWMP, that the Ventura County is applying for on an annual basis. And with this program, we could secure $2.5 million in terms of state grants. In 2021, we also had an opportunity to apply for the a grant program provided by the Department of Defense. That particular grant required Buy American Act, and that is why the construction cost had a large change order, because the contract was already executed, and after the execution of the contract, we received a grant agreement, or we were approved for this $4.23 million grant. But as I said, the condition was that the equipment should be following the Buy American Act requirements. So right off the bat, we knew that we had a change order, because by then, the contractor was not obligated to provide American-made, basically, equipment. So, however, that change order was executed, and the contractor started working as expected. And that concludes my presentation. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mrs. Brawl, Ms. Brawl. Yeah, are there any questions for our presenter? Could you do me a favor and speak again to the change order, and why? I didn't quite understand what the requirement was
Sure.
that led to the change order.
Yes. So we executed a contract with the selected contractor through a competitive bidding.
Mm-hmm.
By then, our specifications did not require equipment to be purchased or to be manufactured in the States.
Oh, I see. Okay.
When we received the grant, the requirement was to follow or comply with the Buy American Act. And the Buy American Act obligates us to make sure, to the extent possible, to provide equipment that it is American made. And that is a kind of like a very high level explanation. There are more details to it. But nevertheless, since we saw that, we knew that automatically the price of the construction would go up. First of all, because of the work that the contractor did or redid rather for all the submittals. So these equipment or these pieces of equipment needed to be changed to comply with the Buy American Act, at least in some cases, not in all cases, but in some cases. And therefore, we expected that the change order would be in the order of $600 to $1 million. Because we wanted to proceed with construction with no delay, since the grant funding also brings some completion dates. So we commit ourselves to complete the project by a certain date. What we did was we went to our board and explained the situation and asked them to approve this change order up to $1 million. And then we would keep track and count of what those costs may be. But that would kind of like facilitate a construction schedule or the construction schedule to go as planned with no delay.
Okay, thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, I have one question in regards to the nitrate impairment for the upper aquifer. Is the Regional Water Quality Control Board working to address that concern separate from this project?
I am not aware that the Regional Water Quality Control Board's actions would have any impact on this project or the facility. So what we have been, the agency or the division that we have been engaged with is the Division of Drinking Water, and the fact that they know nitrate is an issue in Ventura County, and that was basically one engagement that I know. Robert, do you have anything to add about the regional board? No.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Can we get a copy of the slides?
Absolutely,
Of your presentation?
yes.
I appreciate that.
And I believe that you already have that. Yes, we did email the both presentations.
Okay, yeah, they're not
to
in our
staff.
packet, but
Yes.
hopefully we can get those later.
Mhm.
All right, very good. Thank you again.
I have another presentation if
Okay.
you would like me to. Oh, okay, so that's, yes. So this is the extraction barrier and brackish water treatment project. Sort of a status update. However, I want to make sure that the board knows that we are really at a very early stage of this project. So we are still working on the planning and the design of the project. This is a two-phase project, and I will explain these different phases. And during my presentation, I might refer to this project as EPWater. That's like a short version of a very long name. So before I start talking about the project, I just wanted to briefly talk about the United Water Conservation District background and all the efforts that have been done throughout the years since formation of the district since 1950 to combat seawater intrusion and overdraft conditions on the Oxnard Plain. So the map here shows the district service area that starts from the northeast of the county near Santa Felicia Dam all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And what I would like to point out here is the different kind of like, or various projects that we have done throughout the years. So the construction of Santa Felicia Dam was completed in 1955. And the purpose of this dam project was to store natural runoff and provide a way to receive imported water, such as State Water Project. And as we kind of like move along Santa Clara River, then in 1956, United constructed the El Rio recharge and water treatment facility. Then in 80s, we constructed the pumping trough pipeline that is indicated with this kind of like greenish line, and then the Pleasant Valley pipeline and reservoir. And in 1991, we constructed Freeman diversion. So all of these projects would basically have the same goal: facilitating groundwater recharge of several basins that are within our service area, and specifically the Oxnard Plain, and seawater intrusion that was detected in 1930s. And actually, once that was detected, a lot of, I believe about 40 wells around the coastal areas were just abandoned because of the deteriorated water quality in the basins. So United has always focused its mission based on groundwater recharge to support ag and municipality and industrial customers. And we've also focused on the conjunctive use, that means groundwater and surface water delivery. So while groundwater or releases, let's say from Santa Fricia Dam and all the natural runoff from tributaries along Santa Clara River support the groundwater recharge, when surface water is available, we provide surface water to PTP and PV in lieu of pumping extraction from the upper aquifer system. So let's see, I mentioned the upper aquifer system, so I wanted to kind of like revisit that. The Oxnard Basin in particular, that's basically the focus of this project, consists of the upper aquifer system with two primary aquifers, Oxnard Aquifer and Mugu Aquifer, and the lower aquifer system, Hueneme Aquifer, Fox Canyon, and so forth. The majority of pumping extraction has been happening from these two aquifers. And because of the fact that these two aquifers around the coastline are outcropping into the ocean, there is a direct connection between seawater and these aquifers at Mugu Submarine Canyon and Hueneme Submarine Canyon. So as the extraction or pumping extraction on the coastal plain or on the Oxnard Plain has kind of like increased, then seawater intrusion has been basically worsened. And so what I would like to show on this map is these kind of like different variation of yellow and orange color shows the intensity of seawater intrusion in terms of chloride concentration measured in the Oxnard Aquifer. So the orange area shows basically saline water that it is pretty comparable to seawater. The yellow area here is showing or indicating kind of like brackish water, so still elevated chloride concentration compared to the background. And over here, that is not quite visible, the pale yellow shows sort of still elevated chloride concentration in the water, but pretty comparable to the background. So with that, as of 2020, this dashed line shows seawater intrusion zone within the Oxnard Aquifer. In this map, I'm showing the seawater intrusion in Mugu Aquifer. Although it is not as extended as the Oxnard, as in the Oxnard Aquifer, nevertheless, seawater intrusion has gradually kind of like moved inland in this aquifer. So what is the extraction barrier and what's the concept behind that? United has been planning several approaches with regards to seawater intrusion abatement. So with the extraction barrier concept, what we are trying to do is to intercept the aquifers near the shore and create a cone of depression near the shore. And with this concept, we would then bring the already impacted or contaminated groundwater due to seawater intrusion from inland and extracting brackish water from the ocean. So by extracting this kind of like high saline water, we are hoping that we reverse the flow of seawater intrusion that has been inland towards the coast. In 2019, we started to expand our regional groundwater model to the solute or chloride transport model. And what we were trying to do is to, through the groundwater model, look at the feasibility of an extraction barrier near the coast. And this effort, or what we call feasibility study, was supported by a grant from the State Water Resources Control Board Prop 1, and that allowed us to expand and calibrate our model and demonstrate the effectiveness of an extraction barrier. The diagram over here, or the map over here, shows different colors that indicate the severity of chloride concentration. So red is like seawater, and blue is the good quality water with chloride concentration around 100 milligram per liter. And over here, you can see the coastline and Mugu submarine basin. So with no action taken, the seawater intrusion zone is going to advance landward. But if we do implement an extraction barrier, which is shown in the lower map here, what we do is, as I mentioned, create a cone of depression around the Mugu Canyon, and we bring the water or the contaminated or high saline water back into the coast. And this kind of like extraction that was modeled is over 5 years, and it's at 200 or 2,500 acre feet per year of pumping through the Oxnard. And already within 5 years, we see an improvement in the water that has been, as I said, contaminated with seawater. And so here is what, I know that on this projector is pretty hard to see it, but when you are looking closer to the hydraulic gradients and the chloride concentration, you can see that you are kind of like limiting the extension of seawater intrusion through this exercise. In 2019, United started approaching Naval Base Ventura County and proposing Point Mugu as the potential project location for Ebwater. In the past, and as of 2014, United had been looking at other areas off the coast, but our groundwater model indicated that intercepting seawater right at the coast would be beneficiary rather than being more inland and kind of like pulls more seawater from the ocean into the inland location. So that seemed to be the best approach. And since 2019, we have been conducting a number of site visits and site assessments in collaboration with Naval Base Ventura County and Mr. Nathan Jacobson to identify the suitable locations for a number of extraction wells. So what I am showing here is just a number of wells that we are planning to drill and implement at Point Mugu as part of the first phase of the project. And before I talk about the different phases of the project, I want to touch base on the benefits that this project would offer both on the regional basis and local basis. So we have been supporting Fox Canyon GMA, as you know, through our groundwater model. And we know that the Oxnard Basin groundwater sustainability goal needs to be basically reached by 2040. And we believe that by implementing this project, we would significantly support the Fox Canyon GMA in meeting the groundwater sustainability goal by 2040. Through collaboration with Naval Base Ventura County, we know that this project would support Naval Base Ventura County mission objectives. And in addition to that, by providing a new local supply once the project is fully implemented, the local supply would protect agricultural activities in this area and in particular in the Oxnard Plain. It also provides a new drought-resilient water supply, and I will explain that how. You know, the first part of the project is to establish an extraction barrier that would limit seawater intrusion inland. However, by treating the extracted water for beneficial use, we would create a local water supply independent of the climate change and weather conditions. And so that's basically the ultimate goal. And this project also checks a lot of boxes when we are considering the 2020 water resiliency portfolio that Governor Newsom released and the 2022 California's water supply strategy, adapting to a hotter, drier future, which seems to be what we are facing most of the time in Ventura County. Here is just a simple depiction of how we are envisioning this project to move forward. Phase one includes an implementation of an extraction well field, consists of 7 wells. 5 of these wells are going to tap into the Oxnard aquifer and 2 in Mugu aquifer. Collectively, we would extract 3,500 acre-feet per year or 3.1 million gallons per day. During phase one, the objective, the goal is to verify and evaluate the model results with the field data that we are collecting through this demonstration phase. And the extracted water is going to be discharged, and there are several options for, or several discharge locations that we are currently evaluating, and one of them would be Mugu Lagoon. Once we collect data that supports the efficacy of the extraction barrier, but also provide data for us to move into the second phase, which would be treatment, then we are proceeding with the second phase of the project. At that point, we are extending or planning to extend the extent of the extraction barrier by installing more wells into the Oxnard aquifer and Mugu aquifer. And since we know that the extracted water is pretty saline, and we have done some analysis and run some model of what the treatment would look like or could look like, we anticipate that desalination or reverse osmosis filtration is the main, probably the main treatment process that we will apply for treating the water. The RO concentrate could be discharged to the salinity management pipeline that it is owned and operated by Caegos. We have had initial discussions with them, checking the capacity of the pipeline, and it seems to be a viable option for us. And the RO product water, after being conditioned, could be then made available as drinking water for Naval Base Ventura County and for beneficial use outside of Point Mugu. So currently, we have received several funding. I mentioned that State Water Resources Control Board Prop 1 supported the feasibility study. We through that program, we secured about $124,000. Early this year, we received an award for the first phase of the project, and the grant funding through Prop 1 again by the State Water Resources Control Board is about $8.4 million. In addition to that, we have received a grant funding worth of $1.5 million from SGM grant that would allow us to design and construct a number of new monitoring wells at Point Magoo to support this project, to create a baseline prior to extraction and during the extraction to evaluate the hydrological impact of this project. And throughout this process, which is pretty recent, we have received a significant amount of support from our neighboring agencies, different organizations, and of course, including Naval Base Ventura County, Captain Kimnock, and the Navy or U.S. Navy Southwest region. And all these support letters have basically validated our approach and how beneficially this project could be for the region. And thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And again, if you have any question, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you again. Any questions for our presenter? So this project now is fully funded?
Not
No,
fully
not
funded,
yet.
partially funded,
Okay, you
yes.
mentioned there was a 1.5 million from a grant.
SGM grant, yes.
SCN,
Is this sustainable groundwater management?
okay.
This grant in particular is administered by Fox Canyon GMA.
So I remember when we were in DC in March, that there was some lobbying that we performed in support of this project. So hopefully that helped,
Yes,
or will help.
I'm sure.
We have yet to see, but thank you very much. If there are no questions, we'll go ahead and, is this a receive and file?
Great.
Just a presentation? Okay, thank you
Thank you so
again.
much.
All right, we'll now consider items on the consent agenda, which will be enacted in one motion unless the agency member has a request to remove an item for discussion. Anybody have an item they want to pull to discuss? Okay. May I have a motion and a second to approve our consent calendar?
Move to approve?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Do we need a roll call vote here?
No roll call is needed. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Okay. So there are no public hearings or business items, and we'll now move to the agency member reports, comments, and requests for future agenda items. I'd like to remind agency members that all requested items will require a motion, a second, and a majority vote to be placed on a future agenda. Does anybody have any reports or comments or requests for future agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to adjournment. I'd like to remind community that there will be no meeting in August. We are dark in August, so the next regular meeting will be held Monday, September 18th, 2023 at 4 p.m. It is 4:44, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, and everybody have a great summer.